This is really awesome. I mean, I just been really wanting to install one of these. I know a lot of my clients over the years have been asking about it, and they were always just something that was just a really expensive extra upgrade. And there's really a couple of reasons for that. One, the units used to cost a fortune. They used to be a couple grand just for a unit, but additionally, running a dedicated circuit and running it to your circuit panel was pretty expensive. And then you have to have a drain because there's going to be condensation that this is going to have to drain into a drain. So when you're doing a new bathroom like we're doing here, it really opens up the opportunity to be able to do this. And again, like the drain is probably one of the most significant parts of this that can be troublesome to do. Now you could put this on a condensation pump that would be able to pump the water and, you know, somehow bring it to another drain somewhere. But since we're obviously doing everything new construction, we're planning ahead on this. And what we're going to do is use one of these Mata boxes. So this is kind of like a laundry box. I mean, this is just going to be specifically for this drain, and that's it. But they, you know, Odie makes these Moda boxes, M-O-D-A boxes. And they're really awesome because they have a whole bunch of different configurations. You can obviously get one that would be for your washer machine with your water hookups. And they have a whole bunch of different ones. I mean, they're basically universal for a lot of different aspects. But what's great about it is that you basically glue it right into your actual plumbing, and then you have an official drain that you can connect this to. And having the box being able to just be mounted straight to the wall, have this bump out about a 1/2 inch, really makes it nice and easy. So what we're going to do is just basically evaluate kind of where we want to hang this on this wall after we're finished with the drywall. So something like that, something out of the way that you're not going to have to bump into this when you come into the room. We're probably going to put something, you know, just down below the actual drain aspect because it's going to be gravity fed to go to it. So something like that I think is going to just work just fine. So just evaluate your own situation of where you're going to locate this. But we'll bring this in with a trap because you're going to need a trap to keep those sewer gases from, you know, escaping. Now the one thing I will mention that this trap is reliant on water being filled in that actual trap. So during the summer, you're probably not taking a steam shower. So you either have to put some kind of water valve that will, you know, basically timing wise will fill that trap, or just make sure it's trapped. Just know that if you don't have water in the trap, you're going to get sewer gas in your home. So it's just something that you're going to have to pay attention to. So I would make the client aware of that. But, you know, you just have to be aware that you're going to have to make sure there's water in that trap, or you're going to get sewer gas smell. That's kind of the same with any laundry room. When you have a laundry room that has a drain in it, that's the same problem you have there as well. So if you start smelling like sewer gas, pour some water into that drain because it's probably dry, and that's why, you know, everything had just evaporated. So we'll go right about this. This is, you know, I mean, it's really going to be dependent on your own situation, but we'll go, yeah, basically 30, yeah, we'll just go 36 inches. This drain will go down and connect right into it. So okay, so this is PVC, so we're going to have to reduce this down to 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to use a bushing, and then I'm going to use the green transition cement to connect my Odie box. Most of the time with a washer machine, you're going to have a 1.5 inch line, or I'm sorry, a 2-inch line. So almost all washer machines are actually going to need 2-inch, but I'm going to be going 1.5 inches just because this is just a, you know, a small appliance. This is going to be a little bit unorthodox, only because the way that it actually connects to the unit. We're gonna have to have drywall up, obviously, before we mount the steam unit so that it sits nicely on the wall and that we can paint around it. But what we're gonna do is actually just use one of these little, I don't know what you want to call these. These are just like little, for like cables or any type of, you know, a lot of times you'll see that for your coax cables or whatever. But we're gonna put that, basically cut this in afterwards. It's gonna be below the niche somewhere, but this is just gonna allow us to run this wire out of here and then connect to our steam unit. So when it comes to the wire, really, that's why I kind of wanted to go with a smaller unit and have a smaller shower, because then I don't need as much wattage to run the steam generator. And so the one that we got, that was 6 kilowatts, we only needed an 8 gauge wire. So this is a 2 wire. You can see how much thicker that it is than a normal type of, you know, Romex cable, but this is 8 gauge, and this is going to allow the amount of amperage that we're going to be using to run the steam shower. So like a lot of the other ones that are like 10 or 12 or 15 kilowatts, you could get into some pretty thick wire. You're looking at more like 6 gauge or even 4 gauge for some of those bigger units. So pay attention to that before you decide on, you know, the size of shower. Even try to make it as small as possible so that you don't have to be, you know, so energy consuming. But we're just going to run this wire down to our panel, and then after we hook up the generator, we'll run a new, basically a new breaker for this. But this is the same gauge wire that we actually used. We had to use 2 of these for the electric heater. So we had some left over of this 100-foot wire, so that worked out pretty good. But we're just going to leave this loose. Let's go ahead and get this down to our panel down there first. But we're just going to leave this loose, so then when you come out, we can connect it right to our steam unit. Just make sure it goes down below the panel so you have plenty of room so that you can run this. Now we're going to have to kind of condense some of this so that we can get another double 40 in here. We've got so much electric in this garage, it's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, that's what happens when you keep upgrading things. All right, we're gonna give ourselves plenty of room here. So just cut a bunch of this. Basically, when we drywall it, we'll be tucked in there. We'll cut this out to where we feel appropriate and bring that through to connect it. There's probably lots of different nicer ways to do this. We can run conduit. You can probably do all types of different ways of going about this, but I think this is gonna be the simplest way. So just leave that tucked in. All right, so the steam unit. This is what you all been waiting for. If you bought this course, it's probably because of this device right here. So all the planning ahead here was really important. So make sure you review before you get started in your own project of running the wire, making sure that you have the right sized wire for it, even this little box to be able to connect the water. There's a lot of components that make this, you know, kind of troublesome to retrofit in an existing bathroom. But if you had it all open up like this, this is definitely something, you know, at the very least, just get things set up so that you can install this at some point. So yeah, so really the biggest thing that I want to pay attention to with the height of how I'm setting this is just that my drain flows 1/4 inch per foot down to the bottom. So my bottom port here is for the drain. So I just want to make sure that I'm sitting up above that area. So even if I'm just a 1/2 inch, because I'm only about a foot away, that should be sufficient. So I'll be able to angle this and get it into place. This is your control for the remote, or the thermostat for it. So this needs to be run. So this is like 32 feet long, so you got plenty of space to route this. So let me just get this. This is where our wires are going to come in. Okay, then we were going to bring basically this, bring our wire up to connect. Now we're going to have a probably a niche somewhere right around here. So I'm just going to bring it down below here, just keep it the same level as my outlet here. Okay, so obviously it's pretty luxurious being able to route this through without having the wall panel up. But even if you had to, you could still do this by grabbing it. So make sure we have enough cable. So in this scenario, I really don't have a great place for the thermostat. This can't be in the shower. It has to be outside of the shower. So, and I don't want to put it here because I got my door here. There's really no good place to put it. So I'm going to put it over here and just be able to control it before you get into the shower, essentially. I mean, you can even open up the door and still be able to press that if you needed to. Yeah, I mean, the better scenario would be basically open up the door and be able to control it. But this will work out well. So let's just go ahead and put it somewhere like right around here. This cable wrapped here, and this will go into connect to our box as well. One other thing you need to put in here is the sensor. So this is just a little rod. And so this just needs to be like 4 feet off of the floor. So we're gonna just put it on this back wall where you're not really gonna be interfering with it. And this will just we'll cut out the, even the waterproofing. We'll cut a little hole in here. This just needs to be able to be sticking into the shower so that you can get a reading. Okay, so I got that connected. This does have a little bit of a double-sided tape here. Okay, so this is where the uncustomary idea that I came up with. You know, I mean, obviously a piece of conduit would be probably a better way to go, but I think this is just going to work fine. This is just like a pass-through type of cover here. Okay, so this guy just plugs right in. Thermostat. Okay, so you can see line 1 and line 2. So you got line 1, line 2, so you just need to be in the middle of one of these buses. So the white and black does not matter, and then you just have your ground over here. So pretty simple when it's 120 volt or 220 volt. Takes care of that. Pretty simple. Okay, so here's the water inlet. This has a little rubber gasket on it. This is just like a regular supply line, so that'll work. You don't need to put any Teflon tape on the water supply. Okay, then what I have is a washer connector. So this converts to a a 3/8 inch deal. I should mention that this has a little rubber gasket in it, so you can just simply tighten this on. Okay, so this is our steam line. This is our drain port, so we might as well just get our drain connected first. So what I did buy was an automatic drainage system so that it can flush out the system automatically. So we first need to put this guy onto the unit. I'll put a little bit of pipe sealant on this guy too. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And then from here, yeah, so this is just going to be how our drain's going to work. So,
jeez.
okay, so we'll solder this guy on because I don't have another fitting for this. There you go, there's the drain line. So this one will just crimp. This is going to be the steam line. So on this unit, it's 1/2 inch. But in bigger units, anything bigger than 6 kilowatts is going to need the 3/4 inch. So we're going to establish where we want our steam head first before we route this. But what we're going to do is come down, over, and out. The only thing you want to avoid is going down and up. You don't want to make any type of U channel or you're going to trap steam within it. So down, over, and out is fine. You just don't want to make it go back up. So let's see where we want to have this be on this side. And so this is your little steam head. And this just goes in with a brass nipple, just similar to your adapter for your handheld.
Let me see the face of it. Huh.
Yeah.
That's not bad looking.
No. So what you're supposed to be able to do is keep this up. See this little divot up here? You can pour a little bit of a fragrance in there and it'll kind of bubble up and you can smell it through the shower if you wanted to do that. But anyways, this is, you know, it's pretty accurate. There's not a whole lot of flexibility when it comes to it at all. So what I want to do is the roll on this is it needs to be about 17 inches or so off the floor. We obviously have a pipe right there. We're going to go about 18 inches. But you want to keep this away from where your seat is. So if you're going to put a shower bench over here, you don't want to have this right near your leg. So I would say something in the front of the shower because you're not, you know, sitting right there in the front. So what this is going to need, so we're going to have 1/2 inch pipe, but then you also want to wrap it with a high temperature insulation like this. So this is going to have to go through the wall and insulate this. So we're going to drill a bigger hole for it. Okay, so yeah, that needs to be sloped down a little bit too. So I think that's going to work. Okay, so it looks like we'll need to get 1.5 inches. We'll have to get a smaller brass nipple because I think this one's going to be too small. I don't know if I have 1.5 inches, but we'll have to get a smaller one, attach that in there, and then we'll put the pipe seal around it. But then we'll be able to insulate all around this, so that'll work out pretty good. So that's about 1/2 inch behind the rough framing. Ideally, I probably would have been better off being back a little bit further, but I think 1.5 inches is going to work because we have basically 1 inch of tile. I'm 1/2 inch back, so you know, like even like a 2-inch brass nipple will probably work. But that's where having those extensions and stuff help out too. I can put those on if I needed to. But let's go ahead and put the insulation on. So you can just do the best you can, put the insulation around there, but we need to be able to attach that pipe to it next. All right, well, that's the connection points. So we'll connect the power to the main supply once we get all the waterproofing in. You know, really testing this is going to be kind of impossible until you get shower doors in, so that you can, you know, make sure it turns off at the temperature that it's supposed to. But this should all work. Again, 1/2 inch lines for your steam shower aspect, making sure everything slopes so that when if water is sitting in here, it's able to flush out. And then yeah, so I think that turned out pretty good. It's a little bit ugly. I mean, you know, again, they don't really give you too many options on, and the wires coming in. Conduit would have been actually a little bit even more difficult to run, so I think that was a decent solution. Just know that if this is like on your second story of your home, you might be required to actually have a disconnect box to be able to switch off the actual steam unit at the location that you're at. Since I'm in a garage and I'm only right downstairs, I can just flip the breaker down there, but you might need an additional box to do that. Whoa. Wow. That's pretty cool. It is probably 80 degrees. It'll have to get warmer. But man, that is nice. Yeah, you got plenty of. Guess I just gotta clean that glass, I guess. So, all right.